crazy.
Do you smell him? He's close now.
Why are you doing this?
Step into the dark with 15 terrifying horror gems you can stream tonight. From pulse-pounding scares to twisted tales of terror, these chilling pics will crawl into your mind and stay there. Number 15, Dead End.
What if she gets it first? Lady in white.
Don't worry. She's dead.
It's Christmas Eve, and Frank Harrington decides to take a shortcut through a dark, wooded road. A choice that turns the family's quiet drive into a waking nightmare. After nearly hitting a pale woman cradling a silent baby, they offer her a ride. But what follows is a chain of vanishings, hallucinations, and relentless dread. The road never ends, the forest never changes, and something horrifying waits just out of sight. As paranoia builds, the family begins to unravel, trapped in a purgatory of looping paths and spectral horrors. Dead End is a bleak, supernatural road trip into the unknown, where no turn leads to safety, and every mile takes something from you. Number 14, 8mm.
Tom, where are you?
You dance with the devil. The devil don't change. The devil changes you.
Tom Wells, a quiet family man and private investigator, is pulled into a horrifying mystery when he's asked to authenticate an 8mm reel that appears to show a real murder. The deeper he digs, the darker it gets, leading him from high society secrets to the grimy underworld of underground pornography. Teaming up with a cynical video store clerk, Wells chases shadows through alleys of exploitation and faceless predators, uncovering a snuff film ring that may be all too real. Directed by Joel Schumacher, 8mm is a grim, relentless psychological horror thriller that blurs morality and obsession. With every answer, the line between justice and vengeance fades, and Wells must decide how much of his soul he's willing to lose. Number 13, Ills. In the quiet countryside outside Bucharest, a French couple, Clementine and Lucas, settle into an old house hoping for calm and isolation. But when night falls, a haunting presence creeps in. Unseen figures lurking in the dark, whispering voices on the phone, and shadows that move just beyond the light. Soon, they find themselves hunted by silent intruders who torment without motive or mercy. Every door creaks with dread, every hallway turns into a trap, and escape feels miles away in the choking blackness. Directed by David Moreau and Xavier Palude, Ills is a masterclass in tension, stripping fear down to its rawest form. A harrowing home invasion nightmare that tightens its grip until there's no breath left to scream. Number 12, The Sadness. Taipei erupts into grotesque chaos when a mutated virus pushes its victims into violent mania, annihilating the thin veneer of civilization. Against this bleeding backdrop, Jim and Kat are torn apart just as the city collapses, forced to navigate streets littered with bloodied corpses, mutilated bodies, and unspeakable horrors. Their separate journeys intersect with depravity, betrayal, and relentless terror as they claw through panic and madness toward each other. Directed by Rob Jabaz, The Sadness is a brutal, unflinching descent into body horror, where every scream echoes in empty alleys and the sickest impulses emerge unchecked. It drags viewers into a living nightmare, merciless, raw, unforgettable. Number 11, Frontiers. Amid a collapsing Paris torn by riots, a group of young criminals flee to the countryside after a botched robbery, seeking refuge at an isolated inn on the edge of nowhere. What begins as a temporary hideout spirals into a waking nightmare when they discover their hosts are a brutal neo-Nazi clan with a taste for torture and flesh. Trapped in a decaying structure of tunnels, cages, and blood-soaked chambers, the fugitives become prey in a twisted hunt designed to purify a dying bloodline. Directed by Xavier Gens, Frontiers blends political unrest with extreme horror, forging a savage tale where escape is a lie and survival comes at the cost of humanity. Every scream echoes beneath the weight of ideology and madness. Number 10, High Tension. Best friends Marie and Alexia head to a remote farmhouse for a peaceful weekend of study, surrounded by nothing but fields and silence. But when night falls, their quiet escape is shattered by a sadistic intruder who slaughters Alexia's family and drags her away into the dark. Hidden in the shadows, Marie follows the killer across desolate roads and rural nightmares, desperate to save her friend. As the night spirals into madness, each step reveals something more disturbing beneath the surface. Directed by Alexandra Aja, High Tension is a brutal, nerve-shredding slasher soaked in visceral terror. A relentless game of cat and mouse where the line between victim and predator splinters with every scream and every drop of blood. Number 9. Inside. Sarah, a widow months after a fatal car crash, is pregnant and attempting to carry on with her life. Then on a Christmas Eve, a masked intruder appears at her door. At first claiming a car breakdown and requesting help, the stranger soon reveals a single, brutal demand: Sarah's unborn baby. Locked inside her own home, Sarah fights through pain, blood, and terror as the attacker wields scissors and silence becomes a weapon. Inside strips horror to its rawest bone, combining corporeal dread with maternal terror. The film's relentless intensity and refusal to flinch make it one of the most harrowing home invasion nightmares ever filmed. Number 8. When Evil Lurks. In a remote Argentine countryside, brothers Pedro and Jimmy stumble on a mutilated corpse in the woods, leading them to a shack where an old woman and her sons are hiding a terrible secret. One of the boys, Uriel, is slowly becoming a vessel for a demon on the verge of birth. What begins as a desperate attempt to contain the evil spirals into chaos as possessions spread, sacred rituals unravel, and trust disintegrates. Directed and written by Demian Rugna, When Evil Lurks blends folk horror, body horror, and occult terror into a visceral descent. It's a merciless confrontation with darkness, where every horrific twist pulls you deeper into a creeping possession that refuses to stay buried. Number 7. Cannibal Holocaust.
Savage. Shocking. Authentic. Actually filmed in the Amazon jungle.
When a documentary film crew disappears in the depths of the Amazon rainforest, anthropologist Harold Monroe sets out to find them, only to return with reels of footage that reveal a horrifying truth. As he screens the recovered film, a grim narrative unfolds: the crew's manipulations, staged atrocities, and callous cruelty toward the indigenous tribes. But the jungle is unforgiving, and their exploitation turns against them in the most brutal way imaginable. Cannibal Holocaust is a harrowing descent into savagery wrapped in a found footage nightmare. It peels back the veneer of civilization, exposing the rot beneath, and delivers a disturbing message about voyeurism, violence, and the monstrous price of playing God with a camera. Number 6. The Last House on the Left.
These are 2 lovely girls, Justin.
Bring her back!
After arriving at her family's remote lake house, Mari Collingwood and her friend seek a night of freedom, but fall into the clutches of a sadistic group of escaped convicts. Left for dead in the woods, Mari crawls back to her parents' home, unaware that her attackers have already taken shelter inside. As her parents discover the truth, a quiet rage ignites, turning their home into a trap of vengeance and bloodshed. The film is a brutal, unforgiving remake of a 1972 cult shocker where the line between justice and savagery fades. It's a grim, unsettling portrayal of how far grief and fury will go when evil knocks at the wrong door. Number 5. The Girl Next Door.
You brought a cop here. After my mother!
Best policy, mind your own business.
In the summer of 1958, in a quiet American suburb, 2 orphaned sisters, Meg and Susan, are sent to live with their Aunt Ruth and her volatile sons, welcomed into her home under a polite facade. But Ruth's twisted sense of discipline soon evolves into systematic abuse, coercing neighborhood boys to taunt, humiliate, torture, and degrade Meg, while Susan becomes collateral damage. David, a teenage neighbor, watches in horror and helplessness as cruelty intensifies and Ruth orchestrates a perverse spectacle of violence. The Girl Next Door is a harrowing psychological terror, pulling back the curtain on a suburban hell where innocence dies slowly under the weight of human cruelty. Number 4. Speak No Evil.
Because we do things differently.
Why are you doing this?
Danish couple Björn and Louise, along with their daughter Agnes, accept a weekend invitation from Dutch acquaintances Patrick and Karen. strangers they met while on holiday. What begins as polite hospitality soon spirals into tension as boundaries are tested, unsettling behavior emerges, and the veneer of civility fractures. Subtle manipulations, veiled insults, and careful psychological games escalate until the hosts reveal a far darker agenda. Directed by Christian Taftrup, Speak No Evil is a simmering, socially sharp horror that turns manners into menace. It lures you in with polite smiles and breaks you down with creeping terror, exposing how easily menace hides behind polite facades. Number 3, Tetsuo. An unnamed Tokyo office worker, known as the Salaryman, accidentally strikes a deranged metal fetishist with his car, setting off a morphing nightmare. Soon he wakes to discover that iron shards are emerging from his flesh, first as spikes, then as contortions of flesh and steel, while the fetishist's influence spreads in hallucinations and visceral mutations. The lines between man and machine collapse into a seething body horror spiral. The film is a black and white assault on the senses, its fragmented imagery and industrial soundtrack forging a visceral terror of metal and flesh. It's a mechanized nightmare that refuses to let you look away. Number 2, Come and See. In war-torn Belarus during World War II, 14-year-old Flyora excitedly finds a discarded rifle and joins the Soviet partisans, believing heroism awaits. But the reality that greets him is an unrelenting nightmare. Villages burned to ash, civilians slaughtered, forests echoing with bombardment and despair. He meets Glasha, a haunted girl fleeing the carnage, and together they stumble through a world that's dissolving into terror. Directed by Elim Klimov, Come and See merges hyperrealism with surreal horror, turning one boy's journey into a visceral descent through the apocalypse of war. It's a film that eats innocence whole, leaving behind only shattered eyes and scorched earth. Number 1, Salo.
Che succede? Perché
In war-torn northern Italy under the fascist Republic of Salo, 4 powerful libertines, the Duke, the Bishop, the Magistrate, and the President, abduct 18 adolescents and imprison them in a secluded villa. Over the course of 120 days, they force their captives into ritualized cycles of sadism, degradation, and torture, both physical and psychological. Structured in 4 thematic segments, the film mirrors Dante's Inferno in its descent into cruelty, transmutes de Sade's 18th century depravity into a fascist allegory. It doesn't just horrify, it indicts power with merciless precision, reducing bodies into commodities and showing how ideology can turn suffering into spectacle. Here are 3 other movies you have to see. Clown House.
All this clowning around is about to come to an end.
On the eve of Halloween, 3 young brothers are left home alone while their mother is away. Nearby, 3 homicidal lunatics escape from a mental institution and murder a trio of circus clowns, stealing their costumes. Dressed in their grotesque disguises, the killers make their way to the brothers' home under the cover of night. What follows is a chilling game of cat and mouse as the boys realize the nightmare lurking just beyond their door, the dark and the wicked.
I saw something.
She wasn't crazy.
Louise and Michael return to their rural childhood home to say goodbye to their dying father, only to find their mother succumbing to an unseen evil. As the days pass, an oppressive darkness creeps through the farmhouse, manifesting hallucinations, self-harm, and whispers that lead to despair. The siblings struggle to hold on to reality as the force feeding on their grief grows stronger. Something malevolent has rooted itself in their bloodline, and it will not let go. Session 9. A hazmat crew is hired to remove asbestos from an abandoned psychiatric hospital with a sinister reputation. As the team works through the crumbling corridors, tension mounts and bizarre events begin to fracture their minds. One worker discovers old therapy tapes from a patient with multiple personalities, each one darker than the last. The hospital's past starts bleeding into the present, and madness becomes contagious.